It is the 18th day in the month of September 2024. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us on Delta Television, the People's Pride. I am a Blessing Usiabada. I welcome you especially on behalf of the board, management and staff of Delta Broadcasting Service, DBS Asada. Shortly I'll be joined by my co-presenter, Onome Iyaroe. Once again, welcome to Wednesday's edition of Morning Ride. The ride promises to be educative, informative and entertaining this morning. We'll kickstart with our first segment, which is Street Talk. On Street Talk, we go out there and we ask our responded questions, hearing us about the capital of Delta State. We ask them questions about issues relating to our society. And after Street Talk, we'll bring you newspaper review with our analyst. We'll go through several newspapers this morning and we'll find out what is making the headline, what stories are making the headlines this morning. Thereafter, we'll bring you our interview segment and safety corner. Now, in Nigeria, we know that first in Asaba, here in Delta State, the National Youth Games is still ongoing, the 8th edition of the National Youth Games, and so far, Delta State is topping the medal chart. It's a good one that Delta State is doing its best to maintain the title as champions of the National Youth Games. So we say kudos to them, and as the games go on, we wish them the best, and we also wish other competitors the best as well. And then we also know that in the country, the NNPCL and Dangote were still having issues with the price of petrol. They're still going back and forth between the NNPCL and the Dangote refinery, but eventually we'll get to know how much this petrol will be sold. The NNPCL have started lifting petrol from the Dangote refinery, but Nigerians are not quite happy with with the update they've gotten so far. Some Nigerians think that now that the NNPCL have started lifting petrol from the Dangote refinery, that petrol should be cheaper. They feel it should be cheaper. And petroleum marketers have come out to also complain and say that if the NNPCL is going to sell Dangote refinery, the product from Dangote refinery higher than imported ones, that there's no need for us to jubilate that we have Dangote refinery in Nigeria. But well, the issue is still on ground. We're still waiting for the NNPCL and the Dangote refinery to come to a conclusion and let Nigerians know how much this petrol will be sold for in the country. One issue we're still battling in Nigeria is insecurity. Yes, we've heard stories of kidnappings, armed robbery, and different things happening in the country. Insecurity is still a major problem that I think that this administration has not gotten hold of. It is a big issue that the present administration should be looking at. Nigerians are crying every day. We're not safe in our homes, we're not safe in schools, we're not even safe going to our farmlands anymore. And we're talking about food shortage in the country. The NBS have warned that there's likely to be food shortage in the country in the coming years. And these farmers need to go to their farms. But these days, farmers cannot even go to their farms. Farmers cannot even do what they ought to do. They cannot cultivate their crops. You hear of farmer herders clashes. You hear of allegations that these herders go into the farms to cultivate the crops even before they are matured. These are the issues that are bedeviling the country, and Nigerians are asking, what is the federal government doing? What are the security agencies doing to curb insecurity? Well, this morning we'll be hitting the street as we go into the street to ask our respondents what they think about the current insecurity situation in the country. That is our topic on Street Talk. So we hit the street now, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Please stay tuned. This is Wednesday's edition of Morning Ride. Good morning.
Make it juicy.
There's been a significant increase in the rate of insecurity in the country. traveling from one point to another is not even sure. You're not even sure that you get to your destinations because of kidnappings here and there, theft here and there. Well, there are so many things that the government can do to tackle the rate of insecurity in the nation. So we're here on the streets to find out your points, to find out your opinion on what you think should be done to tackle insecurity in Nigeria. Welcome to Street Talk. I am Chinazo Frances Uche of Fojama. Now let's hit the streets. How do you think governments can tackle insecurity in the nation?
By listening to their citizens and making sure their security officers are well trained.
Okay.
That's what I feel.
That's a good one. Thank you. How do you think government can tackle insecurity in the nation?
As the government, the aspect of insecurity in this state is becoming something else. So as for me, I think the government should improve on their security systems. They should put more checkpoints, and in short, they'll be checking not only the vehicles, individuals also moving. They should still at least try and be checking not only the vehicles, because sometimes they don't go with vehicles, they use their foot. So at least they should improve more. Not only, they should not just specialize on the vehicles alone in the aspect of security.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. How do you think government should tackle insecurity in the nation? What do you think can be done?
Okay, for me, the number one point that the government have at hand is making sure there is a creation of job. You know, in Nigeria now, I know there are jobs, but maybe I think our youths, there are jobs that they don't like in this country. Maybe job that they feel like is so suffering, and maybe out of they're educated and they'll now see themselves going to a polar job, you understand? Maybe creating suitable jobs for our youth, is an agent that can, play a very role there. And there are so many other things to do, helping poor people. But the main thing for me, is creating a job. So if there is a creation of job, I think it should help to tackle these insecurities in Nigeria.
Okay, because you believe that if jobs were created and there were more job opportunities, people would have no reason to go and steal, to go and rob, right?
Then maybe paying those that are already working well. Yes. For instance, me, I'm a student, but I'm also working. I work in a private school as a teacher. If I'm being paid well, maybe for instance, I'll not have time to think of going to do prostitution or maybe to engage in other social vices. So that is it.
Okay, that's a good one. Thank you very much. How do you think governments should tackle insecurity in the nation?
Well, first, lots of the problems that we are facing in the world are traceable to economic problems. They are traceable to economic problems. And it is due to hardship, due to difficulty, that people do what they do. Yeah. So I think for starters, the first thing that the government should do to tackle insecurity is to work on the economic situation, the economic regression within the nation. If they can improve the economic situation within the nation, to a very large extent, I believe, without mincing words, that the insecurity within the nation will decrease, because no one in his right mind would risk his life, put his life in danger, to involve himself in anything that would cost him his life. So most of those who do these things are doing them because there isn't any alternative for them and they need to survive. So that is my first opinion on the matter. The second opinion is, first, we need to work on our agencies. We need to work on the police. Lots of them are incorrigible. A lot of them are incorrigible. A lot of them are just after their pockets. And it would surprise you that lots of them even support what is happening within the nation. I don't mean to blow things out of proportion, because I have seen it firsthand. I have seen a situation wherein the police came to a robbery scene, and after they made an appearance, before the next minute, the same culprits that were saw, because I saw them from afar, was walking free on the road. I was staggered by the situation. So we need to work on the character, yes, the character, the quality of persons that we employ into the service, because most of them are the criminals themselves.
Right, thank you very much. How do you think government should tackle insecurity in the nation? What do you think can be done to reduce the rate of insecurity?
For me, I think that, this Nigeria now has a lot of problems at hand, understand? So I think Nigeria should install CCTV. They should copy all this outside country style, understand? So CCTV is very, very important, and police should act more. They should employ more policemen, and they should
employ more.
I mean, they should recruit. Yes. In fact, a lot of things. There are a lot of things. The main thing for this, the main thing that causes this kidnapping of 18 is hardship. Everywhere is hot. There's no money anywhere. It's $3. So many things. You and I know the problem in this Nigeria. You understand? So that's the reason why even the government themselves know what to do to stop all these things. The government, they are human beings. They know what to do to stop all this kidnapping of 18 that is happening everywhere. So let them try hard. But CCTV, see, number one thing, even all these African countries, our neighboring countries, they have CCTV. It's very, very, very important. CCTV all over Nigeria. Even and they should put it where nobody will even know that it is there. So CCTV is very important, and they should organize this and that, monitor those things.
All right, thank you very much, sir. The federal government officials know what should be done, so they should do what needs to be done. But let's find out more opinions on the streets. So, Papa, what do you think government should do to tackle insecurity in the nation?
Number one, our government is stealing us. They are thieves. All of them are thieves. Okay. If the government can stop stealing us, I think insecurity will stop.
Okay, so government should stop stealing us.
Yes.
And then insecurity will stop. All right, thank you very much, sir. How do you think the government should tackle insecurity in the nation?
Well, government should try to put law that will lead to the formation of state policing, so that if state police are in place, the number of law enforcement agencies will now increase. With that, I believe if the number of police officers are much, the crime rate or insecurity in the society will go down, because in a situation whereby a crime is committed somewhere where there are enough police officers, they can easily apprehend the perpetrator of such acts. And in case of all these banditry and other things, you see, they are able to have their way, because the number of security officers, they are not enough. If there are enough security officers in place, I believe if an offense is committed somewhere within a limited period of time, because of the mass number of the officers, they'll be able to easily capture the perpetrator of such acts. So,
right. Thank you. So increase the number of security officers and also properly train these officers. Let's find out more on the street on what you think should be done to tackle insecurity in the nation. What do you think government can do to tackle insecurity in the country? What measures can be taken?
Well, so many people may have their own idea on how to define insecurity, but in a nutshell, situation like Nigeria, the major cause or causes of insecurity is as a result of unemployment. Simple put. So the best way government can tackle insecurity is by providing job for the youths. Simple put, because never mind, because of unemployment, people are engaging in different sectors, crimes and all these things. But to tell you, corruption do not serve anybody any good, including the practitioners. So what I'm trying to say that government should go back to their drawing board by trying to provide jobs for the youths. Maybe they can engage in something like agriculture. They can engage, all this manual labor, like, going into mechanics, going into micro, economics. I mean, MICRO, microeconomics, not macro. So, as a result, all hands will be on desk. And when all hands must have been on desk, insecurity will be drastically reduced. So, that is my bone of contention.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Thank you.
How do you think government should tackle insecurity in the nation?
Security.
Insecurity.
It's in the nation.
Yes.
Now they have to start working. There's no time again now. It remains small. When you're in a house, they will come and carry you. Yeah?
Okay. So what do you think they should do? What should they do, Gongo?
They will start it one by one. So many people are looking for job. They will employ people. At least some people I know. If you employ them in this job, they will give you. What are we talking? They are wasting time now. They are wasting time. It remains very small, though, because hungry is catching people. They will just come inside your house. Oh yeah, give me 500 now. If you don't give me, I'll kill you now. You have to go and look for it.
Yeah.
This security is everywhere. Yeah? It's everywhere. And I think this man there, let me not insult anybody. He's not doing any tangible thing about it.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. Many have said that creating job opportunities would curb insecurity in the country. Some have also said that recruiting more police officers and making sure that they are well trained would curb insecurity. Some have also said that installing CCTV cameras in specific locations would curb insecurity. These are the many opinions that we have heard on today's edition of Street Talk. Till when we come your way again next time, this is Delta TV, the People's Pride, and I am Chinazo Frances Uchiafajama.
Welcome back from the streets. The people have spoken. They have actually given out their own idea of what they think can solve the problem of insecurity that we're experiencing in Nigeria. One of the respondents says that it's just going to take a little time. People will begin to barge into our homes and begin to ask for food, begin to ask for money. I think it's already happening that you hear of news reports of these bandits or these kidnappers going into people's homes, kidnapping them from their homes, going to schools, kidnapping them from schools, going into churches, kidnapping them from the church. So we are already at that point where we are not safe in our homes, we're not safe in schools, we're not safe in the church. To even travel, it's a huge risk to travel by land now, because you're not sure if you're going to get to where you're going to. You're not sure if the journey will be as smooth as you expect it to be. Now, lots of people have talked about the government, creating more jobs. That if we have more jobs for the youth, people won't go into kidnapping, people won't go into so many of the social vices that we're experiencing in Nigeria. Others feel that, if the economy is good, if the government works on the economy of Nigeria, that things will get better. I agree with them. I agree with most of the advice, most of the solutions that our respondents have profiled this morning. I agree with it, because if the economy is working, if we don't have idle people in the country, if the youths are not idle, if the youths have jobs, they won't even cease to think of going into things like kidnapping, going to armed robbery. I hear of cases of young people, very young people, now going into the habits of killing just to sell body parts. It is very disturbing. And a young guy, a young girl, young people that should be in school, people who should be working, will go into killing children, killing their friends, just because they want to sell body parts for as low as 50,000 naira. It is really a disturbing trend. So the government has to look at ways they can curb insecurity. Other respondents said they should equip the security agencies that we have in Nigeria, and I totally agree. The police, the army, they should be equipped. They should recruit more people if they need more men, but then they should also give them the equipment that they need to fight insecurity and banditry. So many times we've heard the army, we've heard the police say they've acquired helicopters, they've acquired drones, but we don't see them using this equipment to really fight or tackle insecurity in the country. So we are pleading with security agencies. One respondent actually alleged, it is an allegation, that some of the security agencies are even involved in all this, all these social vices we're talking about, kidnapping, armed robbery. But I don't want to believe that is true. But we beg the security agencies to please do the job of protecting the citizens and protecting properties. That is your major job. Protecting lives and properties, that is your job. So make sure that you are doing your job with integrity and you don't jeopardize the security of our country. What we plead with our leaders to provide these security agencies, provide them with the equipment that they need, and we'll see if really the rate of insecurity will be reduced in the country. But that's it on Street Talk. We move away from Street Talk now as we move on to our next segment this morning, and that is paper review. We have so many papers this morning for review. Let's go through them. We have the Vanguard, we have the Daily Independent, the Nigerian Tribune, the Nation, the Daily Times, Daily Trust, the Guardian, the Punch. These are the papers we'll be reviewing this morning. I'll read out the headlines, and shortly we'll be joined by our newspaper analyst to go through the headlines this morning. I'll start with the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper has as major headline, NNPCL Dangote, fresh dispute emerges over supply volume. Early this morning I said we're still going back and forth with the NNPCL and Dangote. This headline says, fresh dispute emerges over supply volume. That is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. The riders, NNPC hints of undersupply from Dangote. We have delivered 111 million litres. This is coming from Dangote. Excess supply looms as NNPC imports 135 million litres. Why oil marketers cannot import leads from Dangote, says NNPCL. I would really love to get those details. And then last rider, federal government should provide welfare packages, says CPPE. At the topmost, we have fuel subsidy removal. Others can pose risk to external reserves, says the CBN. That's on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. Abdul Salami to federal government. Situation is bad. Listen to Nigerians' cries. That is on page 8. And I totally agree that the situation in Nigeria is bad. It's time for the federal government to listen to the cries of Nigerians. Insecurity. You can end banditry now. T.Y. Danjuma tax service chiefs. That is on page 8. Edo Guba. PDP, APC, LP in last-minute rush for votes. That's on page 7. At the bottom strip, we have fraud. Foreigners giving Nigeria bad name. Federal government insists. That is on page 9. Flood. Lagdo Dam begins release of water. NISA warns. That is on page 26. And we have on page 30, sports. AFCON 2025. Libya fire coach ahead Super Eagles clash. Those are the headlines from the Vanguard newspaper. Now let's move on to the Daily Independent. The Daily Independent has as major headline: CBN says external reserves at risk on back of fuel subsidies cuts. The Riders. Defies NAS. Maintains federal government ways and means advances at 5%. Warns security, infrastructural issues may worsen inflationary pressures. Okay, that's the major headline. And at the top mass, we have NNPC Limited, Total Energies, $550 million Ubeta upstream gas project takes off. Nobody can put fire in Bauchi, Governor Mohammed replies Wike. At the bottom strip, we have no more excuses. Danjuma tax CDS, service chiefs to end insecurity. That's on page 29. We have Tinubu didn't ask Cardoso to resign, says president. So that's on page 6. Federal government underscores capital market role in Nigerians' $1 trillion economy target. That's on page 29. Still on page 29, federal government, states, LGs share 1.203 trillion naira August 2024 revenue. We really want to see that reflecting in the economy. We have Bafarawa donates 1 billion naira to Sokoto, says, I want to give back to the people. That's on page 7. Governor Fubara suspends Akuku Toro local government chairman. That's still on page 7. We have aviation union suspend planned strike. Over 50% agencies IGR deductions. That's also on page 7. Federal government tax tertiary institutions to skip post-UTME for admission-seeking PWDs. That's on page 6. We have NISA warns or issues flood alert as Cameroon begins release of water from Lagdo Dam into Nigeria. The last headline from the Daily Independent: sustained support for local refineries. Clark charges Tinubu, and that is on page 6 of the Daily Independent. Next is the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune has as major headline: PDP BOT meets Wike behind closed doors. The Riders. You can't set Bauchi on fire. Governor dares FCT minister. Insists PDP Governors Forum stands by Fubara. Seems the issue in the River State issue between Wike, PDP governors, and Fubara is still ongoing, and that's on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. At the top mast, 8 killed, 2,800 injured in Hezbollah fighters' pages. 8 killed, I'll take that again, 8 killed, 2,800 injured as Hezbollah fighters' pages explode in alleged Israeli attack. That's on page 3. Abura-led LP fights back as Usman interim leadership seeks INEC's recognition. That's on page 28. Supreme Court judgment on local government financial autonomy may only remain implementable on paper, says Niyi Akintola. We hope that's not the situation. We hope that that's not what really happens, because we really need the financial autonomy to be implemented. That's on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. We also have FAC. Federal government, states, local government share 1.203 trillion naira August revenue. That's on page 6. Federal government to unbundle 115 unity colleges. That's on page 30. Makinde flags off upgrades of Ibadan Airport today. That's on page 4. At the bottom strip, we have ECOWAS targets $12 billion capital investment for Lagos Abidjan Road Project. That is on page 30. 2.2 million registered voters collected PVCs in Edo, says INEC. That's on page 3. Flooding. 250,000 persons at risk of being displaced in Kogi, government warns. The writer says establishes 42 IDP camps. Okay, that's on page 30. Page 13 of the Nigerian Tribune. End banditry, killings now, no room for excuses. Danjuma tells service chiefs. That's on page 3. It is illegal for NNPCL to fix price of Dangote petrol, says Falana. We don't think the federal government are listening though, but that is on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Now let's see what the Nation newspaper has this morning. On the Nation newspaper, we have this major headline: End banditry, killings now. Danjuma tells service chiefs. The writers: Ribadu, arms control law operational. Why insecurity persists, by Interior Minister. That's a major headline. At the top strip, we have Tinubu signed peace accord. Presidency counters Kuka. That's on page 2. 99 illegal refineries found. 35 oil thieves held in 1 week. That's on news page 25. JAMB unveils plans to boost education access to PLWDs. That's on page 3. Dangote can't sell petrol below cost price, says Rewane. That's on page 7. Cameroon begins release of water from Lagdo Dam. That's on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. That's at the bottom strip. We have CBN to maintain 5% loan capital to government. Rivers PDP elders tackle Ada George for attacking Wike. That is on page 4. We move on now to the Daily Times newspaper. On the Daily Times, we have as major headline: Earthquake. FCT residents panic over tremors as experts urge prompt evacuation. This is quite disturbing. That's on page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. At the topmost, gunmen attack occupants of Delta official car near government house, vanish with millions. And then we have PENCOM, federal government to pay all outstanding pensions liabilities. That's on page 4. On page 19, suspend all policies impoverishing Nigerians. Nasmer begs federal government. We have adequate water to put off any fire in Bauchi. Governor Bala chides Wike. That's on page 17. Federal government to unbundle 115 unity colleges. That's on page 14. At the bottom strip, we have Nigeria makes case for Borno Zamfara flood victims at AU Parliament. And the last headline from the Daily Times: CBN expands e-Naira capabilities for government transactions. Enhanced integration. That is on page 20. Moving on, let's see what's on the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, we have this major headline: petrol price, NNPCL not usurping our powers, says NMDPRA. The writers: it is not a regulator, cannot fix prices. Ipman looks out for official notification. Federal government can reduce costs by cutting taxes, deductions, says sources. That is on page 4 of the Daily Trust. Federal government issues flood alerts as Cameroon opens Lagdo Dam. Federal government to split unity colleges into basic secondary schools. Maduguri flood. Dantata donates 1.5 billion naira NEDC, 3.3 billion naira to victims. However, the bottom strip, Onyaya Khan flags federal government reforms, says middle class becoming poor. Danjuma to service chiefs, no more excuses, end killings now. 4 die, 8 injured in Ogun Road accident. CBN to expand e-Naira for government transactions. That is on page 19. Moving on, let's see the Guardian newspaper. Guardian newspaper is next. Major headline: World Patient Safety Day. Nigeria battles spike in medical errors, negligence in hospital. The riders: after 8 chemo sessions, 25 rounds of radiotherapy, single mastectomy, cancer diagnosis turns out an error, says patient. Oh, this is really sad. After going all through that, his cancer diagnosis turns out an error. The diagnostic errors responsible for 16% of patients' harm. Practitioners blame lack of standard infrastructure for quality care. We are dumping ground for quackery, fake, substandard, unvalidated kits and devices. This is coming from the AMLSN president. Okay, we have panic in Abuja over vibrations from multiple earth tremors. That's on the page 30. INEC taxed on credibility as 379,245 PVCs uncollected in Edo. That's on news page 29. Courts reject Lagos AG's move to stop 1.35 billion naira fraud case. That's on news page 30. Federal government to unbundle 115 government colleges. Get that on news page 30 as well. Nigeria on flood alert as Cameroon's Lagdo Dam releases water. That's on page 6. Clark Lords Dangote urges support for local refining. That's on page 3. LASG seeks accountability, says misdiagnosis cost patients 40% more. That's on news page 7. FRSC Act, the illegality of being accuser, prosecutor, and judge. That's on news analysis page 4. Minister warns of 300 million youth unemployment in Africa. That's on news page 5. Scientists confirm new fast-spreading COVID variant. That's on news page 3. And the last paper for review this morning is the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, we have this major headline: Governorship poll. 35,000 cops arrive Edo as joint forces begin patrol. The rider: military, NSCDC, EFCC personnel back up police team. INEC tracks ballot boxes movement. That is on page 2. At the top strip, 20 governors borrow fresh 446 billion naira as revenues tumble. 3 marketers to import 141 million liters petrol. That's on page 10. How federal government earned $1.29 billion from telecom licenses, says Obasanjo. That's on page 20. Executive order: Tinubu eyes $2.5 billion investments. At the bottom strip, police parade 2,740 suspected kidnappers, others with 4,087 ammunition rounds. PDP shipped NEC meeting over state Congress crisis. That's on page 12, and we have on page 15, or page 5 rather, 3 Oyo students remanded for allegedly causing colleagues' death. And the last headline from the Punch newspaper says, federal government alerts 11 states as Cameroon plans Lagdo Dam release. That's on page 30 of the Punch newspaper. And that is our last paper for review this morning. Welcome back to the studio. These headlines are quite interesting, but most of the stories are quite disappointing. From the Vanguard newspaper, NNPCL Dangote, fresh dispute emerges over supply volume. That is on that's the major headline, and it's on page 5 of the newspaper. When I started, I said NNPCL and Dangote will have to sit down and really come to a conclusion and stop this back and forth so that Nigerians can understand what is really, really happening. And from the riders, NNPCL is alleging that the liters of petrol that Dangote have supplied is really not enough. So there's undersupply from Dangote Refinery, and Dangote Refinery has come out to say that they've supplied 111 million liters already to the NNPCL. Still, the NNPCL is planning to import 135 more liters. And the writer here says, Essex supply looms as NNPCL imports 135 million liters of petrol. Well, with this, we just hope that we don't see queues in these filling stations anymore, and we have enough petrol supply in the country. But still, the NNPCL and Dangote Refinery will have to come to a conclusion and stop this back and forth. Still, across all the newspapers this morning, this disturbing headline on flooding. Lagdo Dam, the Cameroon Lagdo Dam, will be open today. So 11 states have been alerted already, and the federal government is warning these states to take precautions. And we've been saying it since NIMET actually came out to predict flooding this year. If you know that you're living in any flood-prone area, it is time for you to start making preparations to leave that area, because the flood is coming. Heavy rains have started. The dams are being opened. We saw what happened in Yobe State, how the disaster was quite huge. Lives were lost, properties destroyed, children were missing. It is really not something you want to experience. So if you know you're living in a flood-prone area, please start moving. And we beg state government, we beg the federal government to start releasing funds so that IDP camps can be set up for these people. It is not easy. Not everybody has a place where they can go to stay when they leave their homes. So IDP camps with the necessary things that they need, healthcare services, schools for the children, enough food, water supply, electricity supply. These IDP camps should be fully equipped so that people can leave their homes and go to those places until the flood recedes. It is not, this is a natural disaster. This is not something we can stop. Even if the state governments have done their best to desilt drainages and make sure that the flood doesn't come and destroy properties, it is a natural disaster and we can't do much. The only thing you can do is to leave your area if it is if your area is a flood-prone area. And then I also want to advise, a few days ago I was coming to the office when I saw, in the evening, I saw a young child standing close to the drain. It was raining heavily. The mother was close to, she was actually selling corn close to the drains here in Asaba. So I want to advise, if it is raining heavily, please do not step out, do not walk, especially close to the drains. Don't walk when it is raining heavily. And if you have children and it's raining heavily, please make sure you take your children. Don't make sure that they don't stand close to these drains, because we've heard of cases of people being swept away by this heavy water. When it rains, this heavy water that comes sweep people away. You may think you're too big, but if you see the force with which this water comes, please keep your children away. Make sure that if it's raining, you keep them indoors, and you don't stand close to the drains when it is raining. You as an adult, make sure you don't walk. If it's raining, just stay put in one place. Look for a shade, look for somewhere you can stay. Don't walk when it is raining, especially if the road is flooded. Please be safe out there and do not walk. And remember, I'll say it again, if your area is prone to flood, it is time for you to start making preparations to leave that area. Still on Wike's statement saying he's going to put fire in any state. If any state governor interferes in what is happening in Rivers State between him and the Rivers State Governor Fubara, he's going to put fire in that state. But we have Governor Mohammed replying Wike, telling him that nobody can put fire in Bauchi State. I think it is time for the PDP National to call Wike to order, to call the Rivers State Governor and Wike and resolve these issues. It is quite disappointing to see the FCT Minister coming out to make this statement and governors replying him now. The PDP has to put their house in order. Ahead of the Edo State governorship election that is coming up very, very soon, and INEC seems to be prepared, and the headlines here says most of the PVCs have been collected, but some are still uncollected And there's this headline that says that, okay, yes, the Punch newspaper has this headline: 35,000 cops arrive Edo as joint forces begin patrol. Well, it is up to the security agencies to do their job. We really want to see them do their job, because this Edo State governorship election seems to be quite serious. The PDP, the APC, the Labour Party, these three parties are in strong contention, and we don't want to hear of any case of violence at all during this election. So 35,000 cops, I think they can do the job. They should do the job, carry out their jobs as, you know, police officers, security agencies, and make sure that there's no form of voter intimidation, there's no violence, there's no ballot snatching. Let the people go to the polls, let them cast their votes, and let them decide who will be the next governor of Edo State. Those are the headlines this morning. Please get yourself copies of these headlines, go through the headlines, read for yourselves, or you can go online and check them out. Yes, it is easy that way, but still you could get copies of these newspapers and read them for yourself. That is newspaper review this morning. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, it will be time for our interview segment. Please stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Out for More. As you've seen in my previous videos, Delta State has witnessed significant infrastructural development, especially in road construction and urban renewal. However, today we are shifting gears to focus on something just as vital: sports, which plays a key role in youth empowerment and development. For those who are unaware, the National Youth Games Festival kicked off a few days ago, and of course I was on ground to capture all the exciting moments from the opening ceremony as it unfolded. Here's a little fun fact. Delta State has dominated the National Youth Games, winning every edition from 2017 to 2023, and obviously still aiming to clinch the trophy in this 8th edition. We watched an amazing parade featuring athletes from all competing states, and of course the governor stood in acknowledgement of each of the states as they made their way around the stadium. The excitement reached a peak when Delta State, the host and 6-time reigning champions, handed over the championship cup to the officials, indicating to all present that the championship title is once again up for grabs. Overall, the day was absolutely thrilling, as we could feel the passion of every athlete in the stadium. Obviously, this is just the beginning of what promises to be an exciting week for Delta State and the nation. With Governor Sheriff's continuous support for youth development, it is clear that our state is not only a leader, but also in nurturing the next generation of champions. That's all on today's update. Stay tuned for more. Bye!
My people, una know say to chop plenty fruit and vegetable every time dey help person live long. You no go fit see anything when they give good nutrition when boku pass fruit and vegetable. Fruits and vegetables get plenty vitamins like vitamin A, B, C and E, and other minerals like magnesium, zinc, phosphorus, potassium and folic acid. You see, food when contain vegetables and fruit, they help lower blood pressure, reduce the risk of heart disease and stroke, prevent some kind cancer, help lower cholesterol level and blood pressure, remove yamayama from your system, protect you from digestion wahala and high problem, come make your skin dey shine muke muke. E good to eat fruits and vegetables every day, and if you even get blender, you fit blend different food when you like together to make sweet drink when oyibo dey call smoothie. Now the Delta State Committee of Food and Nutrition and Delta State Ministry of Information na im bring una this message.
Welcome back to Wednesday's edition of Morning Ride. It is time for our interview segment. And the 8th National Youth Games is ongoing in Asaba, the state capital of Delta State. The National Youth Games started on the 9th of September. It is going to end tomorrow, being the 19th of September 2024. It has been a wonderful event, I must say, and Delta State, the champions, the defending champions of the National Youth Games, are still topping the medal charts. We're going to be bringing an interview. It's an old interview. We had this interview at the beginning of the National Youth Games. We had an interview with the chairman of the local organizing committee, National Youth Games, Chief Solomon Ogba. We talked about how prepared the state was for the 8th National Youth Games. Now that the games is ongoing, we're bringing that interview to you. Please take a listen. Welcome to our interview segment on Morning Ride. Today we have an exciting and important discussion ahead of the 8th National Youth Games 2024, which is set to hold right here in Asaba, Delta State. The National Youth Games have been a key platform for identifying and nurturing young sporting talent across the country. This year, with over 5,000 athletes from 35 states participating in 36 sports, all eyes will be on Delta State as we host this prestigious event again. Today, our guest is none other than the chairman of the local organizing committee. He is Chief Solomon Ogba. Chief Ogba is a seasoned sports administrator, a former commissioner for sports in Delta State, two-time president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN, and currently the first vice president of the Nigeria Olympic Committee, and he is also a member of the Integrity and Governance Commission of the Commonwealth Games Federation. Under his leadership, the local organizing committee has ensured a robust preparations for what promises to be a successful and memorable event. Chief Ogba, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Can you start by sharing with us the preparations made so far for the 8th National Youth Games, which is scheduled to hold here in Asaba, Delta State?
Well, luckily we hosted the last National Sport Festival in 2022 before we got the hosting right to do the 7th edition of the National Youth Games. And we're going to do that for 4 editions. So this is the 2nd edition we're going to be hosting. Okay. And that being said, most of the facilities needed were put in place because of the National Sport Festival. So what we needed to do is to upgrade where necessary and provide new ones where we think the distance is an issue. Like the ball games, for instance, because these are young children under 15, we decided to save them the agony of driving from Asaba to Huachico. Ball games. New facilities within the Asaba metropolis. Okay. So we've been able to do that within the short time. And we're able to get accommodation for all the contingents within Asaba. We're using the Osadebe University. We're also using the Tenga College. Then we're using our own sports hostel close to St. Bridges. We're using AGGS with Asaba. and Infant Jesus School. And all the facilities were put forward for accommodation. Most of the states, all the states that have been there, they've applauded it.
Okay.
So that is what we've been able to do. And we've been able to also provide other sporting infrastructure within the Stephen Keshi Stadium. Okay. The swimming pool is up and running, very good. All the multi-purpose halls are ready to go.
Okay. Now, Delta State has consistently topped the medal table in previous editions of the National Youth Games. What do you think is the secret behind this consistent success?
I think what we did early in Delta was to go back to I don't want to use the word trick. We went back to what Ogbomudia did, the foundation he laid for Midwest, and Bender. We went back to that, and we were able to re-energize, to reinvent sports in the mindset of Deltans. And we won so much at the senior level, and at that time people were beginning to think that it was a fluke. So they said, okay, let's do the youth games and see. So the youth games was hashed. We won it so much that they now said they should reduce the age. So which I think does not make sense. This is the age under 15. And even at that, we still keep winning. All the editions so far, the 7 editions, 6 of them were done outside Delta, and we won. And there's no reason why we won't win again. Yeah. So, and that has gone to explain why we are the biggest exporter of sporting talent to the United States of America in pursuit of education. This last session alone, over 40 athletes left the state, and this full scholarship to the athletes by universities in America.
Okay. Now, how important or how significant is the National Youth Games in identifying and nurturing young sporting talent in Nigeria?
The foundation of sports should really be when you are young, from age 9. And this is age 15. So we're almost there to get it wrong. So, but if you start from age 9, then you have your fundamentals will be right. So if you play football, for instance, you will know how to at least trap a ball. You will know how to square a pass. You will know how to float a ball, depending on where you are in the field. So these are fundamentals of the sport. So every sport have their own fundamentals. So you are not going to be like somebody who they just brought from anywhere and put in the field, they just be running. No, you will play like you've been coached. So that is the first importance of starting early. Now, if you, as a child, if you allow your child to do sports, it is also likely that that prolongs age is longevity, health, because it's a sports is health. A sporty child is also a healthy child. That is another benefit of doing sports at an early age. Then, of course, many kids go up to become champions. I want to become champions. Some of them will turn pro in the various sports. And again, that is also money earning.
Yes, there are different exceptional.
So once you're a professional, in some way, that earns you money. If you're a footballer, you know what our footballers earn. So it's also a money earner. Then for those in athletics, it gives you money and also gives you the opportunity to go to universities that you ordinarily could not be. You cannot afford to attend. For basketballers, the same thing. It gives you money and you go to universities. For swimmers, many of our swimmers already are in Singapore, some are in Malaysia. from Delta, we have 2 athletes now who are in Singapore and in Malaysia, from Ubiariko. So we have all of that. So starting early is very good. It prepares you for the future, and sports is about the 7th biggest economy, industry in Europe. So.
Okay, now we're expecting over 5,000 athletes in Delta State. What is the security arrangement in place to ensure the safety of athletes, officials, and spectators during the games?
Yeah, if you go around all the venues we are using, you will find the presence of security. Okay. And the issue of security is not what you discuss, but we've been able to mobilize the security architecture of the state to make sure everybody's safe. Okay. We have a good game.
Also, what arrangements have been made to make sure that we won't have any issues with traffic during the games, especially during the opening ceremony that will take place on the 12th of September?
I think the people of the Capital Territory will suffer some discomfort, particularly for the opening and closing ceremony, for a short time, maybe for 4 hours or so. The main road, the main Liberty Road, at some point will be closed for a moment. Yes, for a moment, for a few hours. Okay. And we'll do that, and so that those coming to the stadium will have an easy access.
All right, I know you've talked about security already, but what measures have been put in place to ensure the smooth operation of the event, particularly when we talk about accommodation, transportation? You mentioned security, but still, I want you to talk on that.
For accommodation, all the bed spaces we needed, we have. As a matter of fact, we have about 6,000 bed spaces, and we don't need up to that. So we have everything. And for those people who send their advance thing, they've given us the thumbs up for the quality of accommodation we have provided. And we are proud of that. Right. That the government of Delta has been, most of the infrastructure were provided by the government of Delta. So that goes to show that we are very mindful of the infrastructure we provide for our people. Now, if we talk about the transport issue, we've been able to mobilize vehicles from many MDAs and what the Sports Commission have. And we've been able to mobilize all of that, and we are going to make sure that athletes are chauffeured from the hostels where they're staying to the various venues of competition. Okay. So we've made that, make sure that is done, and also remember that many states will come with their own vehicles, but we will make sure we provide vehicles running from the games villages to the various center of competition regularly.
All right. Well, can you share the importance of fair play and the athletes' screening process that has been implemented to maintain integrity during the games?
Yeah, this is the responsibility of the main organizing committee, handled by the Federal Ministry of Sports. But the main instrument to be used is passport or NIN. With the new passport, you must have your NIN in there, and that is a government thing. And I think that should be the main ingredient to be used. And also, if you are under 15, you should be in school. For me, if you ask my opinion about that, I will take that route. If you're under 15, you should be in school. So if you're not in school, then your age could be doubtful. But if you're in school and we have your NIN, because sometimes they look at face, and I've always said this, that Wawa not be old age. You might look very strong in the face, but that does not mean that you're overaged.
Okay, looking at what's on the screen right now is the Stephen Keshi Stadium, and from reports we've had so far, reports have said that the stadium is wearing a new look. And my question is, how involved is the Delta State government in supporting the preparations for this year's games?
Well, the governor, very kind of him, he has provided all the monies we need to upgrade the infrastructure and also to organize the games. He did not cut a dime from what was sent to him by the Delta State Sports Commission. So he has provided everything, and we hope, we appeal to other governors to do the same for sports in their state. So we are happy about what he's done, and we will try to give a good account of what the game should look like going forward.
All right, let's talk about you a little bit. You are a former sports commissioner in Delta State. Now, how is your experience as a former sports commissioner and president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria helping you in your role as the chairman of the local organizing committee?
Well, these are things we've done over time and time again. Apart from being a former commissioner for sports and also president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, I've been involved in many sporting activities, both locally and internationally. So, and I've had the opportunity of seeing many of the games, up to about 6 Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, and so that comes with some experience, seeing how things are done and being involved in how things are done. So, and many people in the Delta State Sports Commission were people I trained around the world. I mean, knowing what should be. If you want most people here in Delta in the Sports Commission can function anywhere. Even in 2003, in the All African Games, we have like 4 people who were project managers in the All African Games hosted by this country. So.
Okay. What participation is anticipated from schools and communities across Delta State?
We expect that many game masters of schools around this metropolis to be able to bring their kids to sports at the highest level amongst youths. Okay. We believe that should be what they should be planning to do, so that can also draw their interest in the various sports that will be on display. Yeah. That is it.
Okay, how about the communities?
Of course.
Especially Asaba, you mentioned Ogwashuku, and other communities where the sporting event will take place. What is expected of them during these games? Of course,
people in Asaba, retired people, they should go and have good relaxation. Okay. And the young people should also, you will see the level of crime in Asaba this period. You see whether it is going to be high or it's going to be low. Because people will find place to while away their time, and apply them to what good ventures. So we'll see.
All right. Can you highlight some of the sports disciplines that we featured in this year's edition of the Games?
Well, of course, athletics, the king of sports. Of course, you're going to have football. You're going to have most of the ball games, and the combat sports like boxing, karate, judo, taekwondo. We're going to have swimming. We're going to have rugby, chess, Scrabble, shooting, abula, ayo. Those are traditional sports. Yeah. About 36 of them.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. Now, one of the reports I read, the report said there's this agreement between the state government and the federal government to also host the 2025-2026 edition of the National Youth Games. Is that true?
Yes, 4 editions we're going to host.
Okay, so what are the long-term goals of Delta State in continuing to host the National Youth Games?
For now, we have 4 editions we've signed to host. And we want to do them nicely and proudly too. Okay. After that, maybe there might be 1 or 2 states who want to host, but we will continue to develop our athletes because these youth games have produced many talents that have gone to become the cornerstone of our Nigerian sporting history. People like Favour Philly, Raymond Akewo, many of them, like Tiana, so many of them, we are all part of these youth games.
Okay.
And today they are all Olympians.
All right. So how then would you ensure a fair and competitive environment for all participants?
No, of course, we will make sure that, you see, Delta, because we have it, so we're not struggling to cheat. We know that whenever we step out, it's going to be competition.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to be fair. You know, you can testify to that Deltans are fair.
All right, so what is the collaboration between the state government and the federal government as we, prepare for the National Youth Games?
Well, the federal government has all the associations that run the games. So each game is run by their own national federations. So to provide an enabling environment. So the federal government handles all of that. So the rules and everything. Now, we also have the joint technical meeting where all the states of the federation will send 2 or 3 people, maybe their permanent secretaries or their directors of sports, send them. They will have that meeting with the whole state, the federations, and the Federal Ministry of Sports. Where many decisions are taken and the framework for the successful host of the festival or the games are outlined and approved. All that have been done. So with that in place, then you are sure that we are going to have a good game.
Okay, are there any partnerships or sponsorships, for these games?
Yeah, for this game, no, because the LOC was set up like 3 weeks or 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before the games.
So everything is fully funded
But
by
yes,
the state
and
government?
all the monies needed has been provided for.
By the state
By
government?
the governor, yes.
That is commendable.
Yes.
Okay, so how is the LOC promoting the games to ensure maximum attendance and engagement from the public? You mentioned that, the LOC is expecting game masters from schools to bring their students to see the games, and also adults and even the youths will be there. So what is LOC doing to promote the game so that we'll have maximum attendance and engagement from the public?
Well, if you look at social media, we call it new media.
Yes.
There's a lot of mention about the youth games, and we've done a lot of jingles, radio jingles, and it's on from Warri to Sabah. A lot is going on those fronts, and many platforms is trending in many platforms. And people, a lot of people begin to say, "This is like the National Sport Festival, but the youth games." So we've been able to do that, and we're going to do more. We're trying to get a top musician that will resonate with young people.
Okay.
That also that can perform on the opening ceremony. And we are mobilizing the National Youth Service Corps members.
Good.
Yes, and because it's a youth thing,
yes.
They are going to lead the parade with their trumpets and the drums to lead the parade, so that they can inspire many of those to be like them. So we're also going to do that. And what else are we doing again?
Okay, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind after the conclusion of the games?
We want to see champions, future champions. We want to see Olympians. We want to see people that they will look. So I'm a product, I was a product of the youth games. So.
Okay. So how are the athletes preparing for this year's edition, especially Team Delta? Team Delta has won all the past editions of the National Youth Games, so they have to sit up. They have to, they are the defending champion of this national youth game. So how are they preparing for this year's edition?
No, they've been in close
They
camp.
have a reputation to oppose.
Yes, of course.
So
They know winning is our DNA, and they've been in close camping for the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
You know, I mean, they were in open camp, but now they were in close camp for the past 2 weeks, and they've done a series of trials to prune that. They say, and you'll be surprised that many of the rejects. We formed a team of many states from here, so we are quite prepared and ready. And you know, yeah, in Delta, sports is a way of life. It's not because we're having the youth game, then we start training. No, they keep training all year round. So it's very difficult to even select the team. Because sometimes some of the athletes we drop, we go to other states to compete. And if you're not careful, they can come and beat you.
True.
That happened to us last year.
Okay, so are there any specific challenges or setbacks that the LOC has encountered during the planning process, and how are they being addressed?
Well, there's no issue, there's no problems or whatever that is not surmountable if you put your mind to it. Okay. First, we have a team of concise professionals that know what to do. So once we get to that hurdle, we navigate it quickly and move on. Of course, those things will come every time. Like today, for instance, when we'll be checking everything, okay, but today when one of the states arrived, some part of the light of one went off. But we have to react immediately, and it was quickly fixed. So these are things that you will not see. But once people, then they come up. But your ability to respond in good time.
Okay. Now, as a former sports commissioner, how do you see the relationship between government policy and sports development at the grassroots level?
Well, in those days, when we were growing up, we embraced sports. I mean, that's after the Civil War. So in secondary school then, you know, you were not used to military people, military drills. The soldiers will run, we do cross country and all of that. So we did cross country, and from cross country, game masters picked those who can be sports people. Okay. And that is how some of us started sports. Now, because boarding houses are not in vogue. Okay, they are not. Let me not use the word "not more in vogue." They are not as predominant as it was in the time past. Yeah. That became a challenge. And you know, when we were growing up, Ogbomudia, one of the greatest icons, one of the greatest sports administrators, established the Afuze College, where game masters were trained to be game masters. We don't have those things anymore. But then, game masters were trained. Local government council chairmen were part of it. They provide that come to their local government to train people. But today we don't have, we're trying to get all that back on stream. Where a basketball coach, for instance, can come from Asaba and go to Ole. Maybe you want to spend like 6 weeks in Ole, whereby he will go to schools, assemble people, put them together, elect one as captain, tell them what to do with drills. Then you have a basketball team in that school. He will go around some few schools in the school south for 6 weeks and come back to Asaba. The next month he will go to Warri South, like that. Wherever he goes, he set up a team and put somebody there. So then when time comes, people will not start playing against themselves, thereby creating a pool of talents in that particular sport. Okay. So when we are doing the zonal competition, local government championships, you have athletes, you do the zonal, you have athletes, then you do the state sport festival. Everybody will not come together and the state team is formed. That is the structure we have in Delta, and that structure started with the Gobuja in Midwest.
Okay. Now, how significant is this year's National Youth Games to the administration of Governor Sheriff Oborevwori and the people of Delta State?
You see, sports is one industry, one area that no, I call it, no opponent, no political foe can say that the state has not done well. Even they themselves know that if they try to say it, everybody in the state, or even in Nigeria, will rise up in arms to say you are a liar. So, and the governor wants to keep that legacy. And he has displayed it, that he wants to keep it. Look at what he's trying to do with the stadium in Warri. He's trying to rebuild it completely. And the Asaba Stadium is being given, and many other small stadia in the state. What is his plan, what he has decided to do with them. So by doing all of that is to reinforce the already known verdict that sports is a winner in Delta, and he wants to keep it so. And whoever comes after him will also follow the same step.
Okay. So how would you describe the development of young talents, young sports talents in the country over the years?
Well, many states have not really done well with young people. Okay. Many states have not done well because the gap between the few states, and ironically, the states doing well are all in the south.
State like Delta State, for example.
Like Delta, Edo, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, Rivers.
What states would you say have not done so well?
Many of the states in the far north are not doing well. Then even the East used to be strong in sports, but they're not doing too good. And some few states in the West are okay. But generally the gap between the south and other zones is too wide.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned that everything has been put in place: security, transportation, accommodation. So, would you say, or are you giving us the assurance now that the 8th edition of the National Youth Games would be a success because everything, like you said, has been provided by the Delta State government?
Yeah, God willing. I know God has already willed it, so we're going to have a fabulous youth games.
And then this accommodation has been provided for the officials as well, because we mentioned we're expecting about 5,000 athletes.
5,776 athletes.
All right.
Then, and officials.
All right.
Accommodation has been provided for them. We have 6,000 bed spaces provided. Then many other officials will stay in the hotels, and luckily Asaba have the hotels that can swallow everybody. So we have that, and I think everything will be okay.
Okay. Now, can you tell us about any special programs or ceremonies that are planned for the opening and closing ceremony of the games? I know you mentioned some, but I just want you to...
Yeah, we're trying to keep it close because for TV, we don't want to exceed 3 hours. So it's going to be close so that people can also go back to other parts of the states. So we are starting at 2, and by 5 o'clock, we are done. So that those from Warri area, Ughelli, Bamadi, and Saple can also go back before dark. So that is what we're trying to do. And we are going to be, there are basic things to do, maybe like some cultural displays, the oath taking, then the marching of the athletes, marching, then the oath taking, then the march out. Then, since they are young people, they would like to have some dancing and all of that.
Okay. Now, what do you hope will be the overall impact of the 8 National Youth Games in Delta State and Nigeria as a whole?
One, it's going to elicit support of younger people to focus on sports. Then, if they show interest sufficiently, that will also give them the opportunity of becoming professional athletes. Okay. And also, it's also an avenue, like I said before, it's an avenue here in Delta and many parts of the country to pave the way for many of them to go to school in the United States of America with full board, that's full scholarship for 4 years. So that has always done that for many of the young athletes. And they go to schools where ordinarily they will not be able to go because they won't be able to pay. But with sports, they go there. And many of them become American citizens and also live there and change the trajectory of their family lineages.
Okay. Now, what would be your message to athletes, officials, and spectators ahead of the 8th National Youth Games? What message would you like to share with them?
Well, for the athletes, they should be sportsmanly. They should, sports is sports. And they should enjoy it and do well to win something for themselves so that they can be proud of their accomplishments. And then for the officials, they should also take lessons from what they learn. If their awards did not win, they should have learned 1 or 2 things and correct that so that next time they can also win. And overall, create friendship.
Okay, and then what would be your last word to Team Delta? Because I know that you are very interested in Team Delta. Like I said, they have a reputation to uphold. So
we have a slogan. We have a slogan. Team Delta is called Delta Force. And we say if it doesn't fit, you force it. Okay. You know what that means?
No.
If it doesn't fit, force it. You have to win.
Okay, so they should do everything that they can to make sure that they win.
Of course. That is
top the medal table.
That is how we were in Bendel. Bendel was the colossus in sports in this country. And history has shown that Delta was the better part of Bendel that produced all the laurels.
Okay. So what will be your parting words as we look forward to the official opening of the 8th National Youth Games?
Well, by Deltans to come out in their droves to support the game and share all the athletes, irrespective of where they come from, to win and support them and what did I say? I said support them and appreciate them, so that when they go back, they will say, "Oh, Delta was a great place to be."
Okay, thank you so much, Chief Solomon Ogba. We've been speaking to the chairman of the local organizing committee, Chief Solomon Ogba. Chief Solomon Ogba is a seasoned sports administrator, a former commissioner for sport in Delta State, 2-time president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN, and currently the first vice president of the Nigerian Olympic Committee, NOC. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. It is evident that this 8th National Youth Games is going to be an unforgettable event, and we look forward to it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And to your dear viewer, like our guest had said, please make sure that Organizing Committee Chief Solomon Ogba, he did say that Delta State was ready to host the 8th National Youth Games, and so far we've seen how the games have been going. The state government fully funded the 8th National Youth Games, and Team Delta is doing quite well during the games. We wish them the best, and we do pray that they become champions of the 8th National Youth Games. They are the defending champions. They've won all the editions of the National Youth Games, and we pray that they emerge winner and champions of this 8th National Youth Games as well. As we come to an end to Morning Ride, Wednesday's edition of Morning Ride today, our last segment is safety tips. On safety tips today, we'll be talking about water safety. As NIMET predicted, the rains are here and some states in Nigeria are already flooded. Now, flooding is a natural disaster. There are only a few things that you can do to make sure that the effect of the flooding is not disastrous and it doesn't affect you or affect your properties. Now, the first thing that you have to do is to evacuate. If you're living in any flood-prone areas, please evacuate, leave immediately. Then if you have very important properties, belongings, move them to higher grounds. That's another thing you can do to make sure that you don't lose them completely. If you have very important properties or belongings, move those properties, move those belongings to a higher ground. And then ensure that your family has access to clean water and emergency supplies. Now, if you know that you live in an area that is prone to flood, when you're evacuating, make sure that you also have plans to make sure that your family has access to clean water and then some emergency supplies that they would need. Then, very importantly, avoid driving or walking through flooded roads. I said this before. The rains are here already. Even if you don't live in a flood-prone area, once it starts raining heavily, please avoid driving, avoid walking once the road is flooded. Avoid it. And then the last thing you can do is stay tuned. Always make sure that you listen to the local radio, listen to local TVs so that you can get updates. Once there are updates, news updates, you get them through your local radios or your TV. Make sure that you stay tuned and you always look out for news updates about flooding in Nigeria. I'll leave you in the capable hands of our safety expert, Paul Orukamaya, as he talks more on water safety this morning.
Together to ensure that every risk or hazard as related to water activities are eliminated, as well as if you cannot eliminate, you should be able to manage and prepare for eventualities when this happens. Water is make up a large mass of the earth. If you are very familiar with the knowledge of the earth, you discover that we have limited lands compared to water. So everyone around the world will one time or the other in their life, being able to assure that they might be able to have been able to travel or water or have any other business to do with water. Now, when we look at water safety in general, we're talking about those things. We're talking about those things that one needs to know or put in place to ensure whether you travel on water or you go on water for leisure, or you need to have a swimming pool within your home to ensure that anybody who comes in contact with that don't lose his or her life at any space. This is what we mean by water safety. So what are the basic things that we need to understand when we talk about water safety? The first is that, as it is customarily under the Health and Safety Law, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is also important that we know that anybody who have anything to do with water, pool of water, professionally or for leisure, casual and all that, must have to understand what we call water and the safety measures that you need to put in place for you to be able to survive in this environment. What do we mean by that? We simply mean that if you must have an activity on water, then you must have a basic knowledge of the risk associated with water in particular. One, how do you get this knowledge? You must or you need to undergo a basic water safety course within a particular time. To give you an example, if you need to swim, somebody will need to coach you on how to swim. And that is learning. If you need to travel, probably your work professionally, or have to go through water on a regular basis, then it is compulsory. It is mandatory under the Nigeria Health and Safety Act that you must undergo and certify under a water safety course. And if you've been able to undergo a water safety course, then we should be guaranteed that at least 80% of the risk that will come as a result of an accident on water, on you traveling on the river, or training all that, or having activities within the water pool, or even being caught off guard by flooding, that you're going to be safe. And this will lead to reduction of mortality rate as in that line. So the second thing you need to know if you have to go on water, if you need to go on water, then you need to know that everyone who goes on water, who has business to do on water, must have its minimum standards. That is, you must put on a life vest, or simply called a life jacket. If you need to go on water, you need to put on a life jacket. Whether you know how to swim, whether you are a professional swimmer, or you are just under a learning course, or even children that will need to go on the pool of water, even at home when the water is so small, you need to ensure that the person will need to be on a life vest. What is a life vest? A life vest is a floating device that will be able to sustain the human's head above the water level in terms of any activity that you run on the water. What is important to us when we talk about water safety and life vests? It has come to our notice that everybody tends to understand that anything you pick is a life vest. Life vest in itself comes in different variety, which is classified as type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and type 5. Why are they classified in this regard? If you are probably swimming on your swimming pool within your house, you don't need a life vest that is going type 1 life vest that is going to sustain you when your boat wreck in the sea. So if professionally you work in an offshore environment, or you live in an island, definitely you will need what we call a type 1 life vest. A type 1 life vest is designed to ensure that even when somebody flow into the water, a vest like this, and you flow into the water as a result of shipwreck, and you become unconscious, in as much as you are in that vest, your head must be sustained to ensure that you have a constant oxygen. That is to say that when you are motionless, the vest automatically turn you facing up, and suspend your head above the water. No matter what your weight will be, that vest will sustain you, and no matter how long you stay underwater, there is guarantee that your airway will be open and you get constant oxygen along the line. Why is it important for those who have their major activities on water to always go on type 1 life vest? It's because you don't know when it will happen, and when it happens, you don't know how far you are from the seashore. Thus, we always recommend that you understand why you need to use a type 1 life vest. Type 2 life vest is an ordinary floating vest which you commonly see everywhere, and it's cheap, so you see it everywhere around, where people who are supposed to be doing the swimming in the swimming pool under the watch of a lifeguard put on. When you put on a type 2 vest or type, it means that when you are on the water, it helps and gives you ability to swim and control yourself in that regard. But for the type 1, life vest, you need to be a professional swimmer to be able to control your movements in that regard, because it's going to suspend you and suspend, obviously, your hand, and you need your leg to be able to sustain to swim into direction. But for the type 2 and the type 3, you might be able to control it. But the danger is, if you shipwreck and accidentally you become unconscious, there is tendency that you are going to drown in that water if you're not able to provide a support. Type 4 and type 5 is the popular ring that you see when you go to swimming pool. It means this is actually a type 5 life vest. We call it a life vest. Other people call it a floating device. It means it's a throw-on device. When a shipwreck and you need to rescue somebody, you throw this device onto the person and the person grip. The good thing about this is that once you come in contact with it, you will be able to lie down immediately, and it keeps you going until help arrives. When you have this type of vest, you are sure that anybody who goes in and is swimming, even when you don't know how to swim, this type 5 will be able to sustain you. Another thing is that when you have the type 5 and somebody is rescuing you, the person can just tie a rope attached to it and drag no matter the distance you are, and you are being able to be brought out of the water. Again, it is important for you to know that whether you are a professional swimmer or you're just a novice in swimming, that you need, for you to embark on any water journey, you need to have a life vest on. And thirdly, when you go on water drive, avoid the use of phones. What do we mean avoid the use of phone? The phone is an electromagnetic device that tends to travel within an electromagnetic wave. It means that while you're using your phone to stream, while you're using your phone to share public posts, it interferes with the electric mechanism of that boat, depending on the boat. That is point 1. Point 2, if you're using a local boat where the sailor stays behind and you're using your phone to video, you're using your phone to stream, what it means is that you would give a divided attention to the sailor who is controlling that boat, because it needs to be 100% focused. Why does it need to be 100% focused? On the river, we have what we call water hyacinths. These leaves that you see within on top of the floating, or on top of the water floating. If the boat happen to drive into a water hyacinth, there's possibility that the propeller pick up the hyacinth and the hyacinth flings off that boat and the boat wrecks. It means that you need to ensure that your sailor is never distracted. And when you use your phone to stream, or you use your phone to record, you know, most times the people suspend the phone on top and block this man's view. You put the entire passengers on that boat at risk. So we encourage and discourage you for any form of the use of phone to stream or to video while you are on a boat ride. Please avoid it because it's extremely dangerous. Next, never get involved in alcohol when you want to go on a boat trip. Alcohol and drugs and other drugs are powerful toxics that might drive you out of point. I will give you an example what the water ride looks like. If you're on a boat, you don't have an opportunity to come down from the boat and step on the dry land. If there's turbulence in the boat, everybody's fate lies in the blue. It means if that boat tumbles, the ability for you to survive reduces. So if anybody within the boat is under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and the person starts an unusual movement in the boat, there's tendency that that boat will capsize. And when the boat capsizes, everybody within the boat will definitely drown. Even if you know how to swim and you are 5 kilometers away from land, from the seashore, it means that you will definitely suffer and drown. Again, don't forget, when you are on a high sea and you are putting on life jacket, sometimes it attracts sea wild animals. So you need to avoid alcohol when you are going on a boat ride. Ensure that people on land understand your trip. Let's say, for example, you are moving from Asaba to Bomodi via boat. It is good for you to check on with your relatives or your supervisors on ground the time you take off and your expected time of arrival. Before you go on that ride, ask your sailor, how long will it take me to move from Asaba to Bomodi? And he says 3 hours. The person who is expecting you, so that if you leave by 2, you should be there by 5. Once it is 5 minutes after 5, the people get worried. And what happens is rescue team will start coming to look for you, because they know when the ship wrecks, there's no way your phone can be on for you to be able to contact. So share your travel plan with people on ground, your supervisor, your relative, so as to ensure that when anything happens, they will be able to rescue. I'll give you a critical life truth when it comes to lifeguard. If the lifeguards within the shore know that you are expected to land on shore in 5 minutes, and they don't see you at 7 minutes, they are trained professionally to go back on the roof to check whether anything has happened to you. The earlier they respond, the better for the victims. Know how to rescue somebody if you need to go on a boat ride. Learn first aid, because drowning is inevitable. It's only when you know how to save somebody that is drowning, that is drowned, that you can be saved as well. Probably if the ship wreck, if the people around you who know how to swim are able to provide first aid for you, probably if the sailor knows first aid before you get on board, and the sailor is a good swimmer, and the ship wreck, when you are rescued on shore, on board, please know that it is not the hospital that is the basis. Anybody who drowned on the water needs oxygen, because oxygen supply would have been cut off. And when oxygen supply is cut off for a period of 6 minutes, the brain cells start dying. So for you to go on a boat ride, ensure that people around you know how to administer CPRO to ensure that when anything happens, you can be able to be saved. I believe these little tips will be able to guide us for whenever we take a decision, either you're going for picnic, or you're going for normal swimming, or you're going for professional tour on the river, on a boat ride, to be able to stay alive. Staying alive is our priority here on Delta Television. Ensuring that you're safe is a responsibility that we hold. And taking this simple guides will definitely keep us safe and ensure that professionalism is upheld. My name is Paul Orukamaya, your guide on safety tips.